Good evening, students. Welcome to Sankalp learning classes. Yes, today it is the third session. So, here we are discussing some important questions, MCQ questions from this chapter. Yes, ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ರೆಡಿ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ ಅಂತ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ತೇನೆ. ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ನೋಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ ಹಾಗೆ ಕೆಲವೊಂದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಟಾಪಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ನೋಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಹೋಗಿ ಸೊ ದಟ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಹೆಲ್ಪ್ಫುಲ್ ಫಾರ್ ಯುವರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಮ್. ಓಕೆ, ಎಸ್, ಲೆಟ್ ಅಸ್ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ವಿತ್ ದ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಕ್ವಶನ್. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಣ ಸೆಷನ್ ಅನ್ನ. Yes, so this is the first question. Which of the following represents the Hardy-Weinberg equation? P square plus Q square is equal to 1. P square plus Q square is equal to 0. Option C, P square plus 2PQ plus Q square is equal to 1. P square plus Q square, the whole square. So, Hardy-Weinberg equation. So, there is a Hardy-Weinberg principle, right? So, what it states, Hardy-Weinberg principle. So, here, according to the Hardy-Weinberg principle, so the gene frequencies in a population that is stable and constant from generation to generation. So that is the first statement. So the gene frequencies in a population that remains constant from generation to generation. And the second statement is the sum total of the allelic frequency. So the sum total of the allelic frequency that is equal to 1. So here they'll take P plus Q that is equal to 1. So here the final equation will be P square. So here P and Q that represents the allelic frequency. So P square Q square plus 2PQ that is equal to 1. So the equation, so this is called as the Hardy-Weinberg equation. Option C is the correct answer. Second one, single step large mutation leads to the speciation. Means saltation, mutation, natural selection, genetic drift. So here single step large mutation. So mutation means the sudden change in the genetic level, right? The mutation means sudden change in the genetic or the genetic level. So mainly the it occurs by chance, the genetic change. So that is called as the mutation. Natural selection, that is the Darwin's theory. And genetic drift, so change in the gene pool occurs that is due to by chance. So that is called as the genetic drift. So here the definition, single step large mutation leads to the speciation, that is nothing but the saltation. Option A. So here this is saltation. Okay, option A is the correct answer. Third question. The total genes and their alleles in a population is genome, gene pool, gene frequency. So here, just imagine there is a population. There is a population, for example, in a particular area. So there are some dog population. Okay, just imagine dog population in a particular area. So the total genes and their alleles in a population. So the number of genes and their alleles. So the different types of the alleles, genes and their alleles will be there in that population. So what it is called? Is it called genome? Genome refers to the genome and gene, so that is referred to a single organism, not to a population. Then what's the correct answer? Gene pool or gene frequency? So here, what is the meaning of the gene frequency? So here, the relative proportion of the specific allele. So that is called as the gene frequency. But the total number of genes and their alleles. So how many genes are present in that population and their allelic formation. For example, for height, so they have two, or for the color of the body, they have two types of the alleles, means the total alleles in that population, that is called as the gene pool. Option B is the correct one, that is the gene pool. Please note down the question. Yes, let's move to the next question. The chemical evolution of life was experimentally proved by Louis Pasteur, Oparin and Haldane, Stanley Miller, Charles Darwin. So here, the Louis Pasteur, the scientist who disapproved the theory of spontaneous generation, theory of spontaneous generation, that is disapproved by the Louis Pasteur Swan neck experiment. Then Oparin and Haldane, who proposed the chemical evolution. The theoretically they proposed the theory of chemical evolution. Then Charles Darwin, he proposed the theory of natural selection. But experimental proof for the chemical evolution, so that is given by the Stanley Miller. So what is the meaning of the chemical evolution of life? So here, what it proposed, according to the chemical evolution, the life that is originated from the some inorganic and organic molecules. Some inorganic molecules, they form the organic molecules like proteins, and from this organic molecules, the life that was originated on the earth. So that is the theory of chemical evolution. So that is experimentally proved by the scientist Stanley Miller experiment. So option C, Stanley Miller experiment. Yes, dear students, if you know the answer, please write down in the chat box. So option C now ಸರಿಯಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬಹುದು. Yes, let's move to the next question. Fifth question. The brain size of the Neanderthal man is. So this question that is related to the evolution of the man. So the brain size of the Neanderthal man. So the brain size of the Neanderthal man, that is 1400 cc cranial capacity. That is the 1400 cc. So before this, so they mentioned the brain capacity of the Homo habilis and the Homo erectus, right? So the brain capacity of the Homo habilis, that is 650 to 800 cc. You have to remember this number. And the Homo erectus, that is around 900 cc. Okay. So the Neanderthal man, so brain capacity, that is 1400 cc. Okay, just you have to remember this name, this number. Please note down this one also. Homo habilis 650 to 800 and Homo erectus, the brain capacity is 900 cc. Okay, so for this question, fifth question, correct answer is option A, 1400 cc. Yes, let's move to the sixth question. Chemical theory of origin of life given by Stanley Miller, Spallanzani, Oparin and Haldane, Louis Pasteur. So here in the last question, last to last question, so what we discussed, chemical theory of origin of life that is experimentally proven by. So experimentally ಯಾರು ಪ್ರೂವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅಂತ ಇತ್ತು ಅಲ್ವಾ. So that is the for that question, Stanley Miller is the correct answer. So you know that experiment, they created the similar early earth condition in the lab, and they created the 800 degrees Celsius temperature, and they used some gases, and that leads to the production of the some organic molecules, right? So that is the Stanley Miller experiment. So this one, this scientist, so that is not related to the evolution, so there is no mention of this name. So then Oparin and Haldane, the scientist who gave the chemical theory of the evolution. So for this question, Oparin and Haldane, that is the correct answer. Louis Pasteur, so that is for the, he disapproved the theory of spontaneous generation. And what he explained that the organisms develop from the pre-existing ones, not from the rotting or the dead materials. So that is the Louis Pasteur's experiment. So here the answer for this question, that is Oparin and Haldane. So according to the Oparin and Haldane, so the life that is originated from the some organic molecules, so that is called as the theory of chemical evolution, chemical origin. Yes, let's move to the seventh question. The earliest geological time period among the following is Cambrian, Permian, Jurassic, and Quaternary. So, which one is the earliest geological time period among the following? So, here option A is the correct answer. That is the Cambrian is the earliest geological time period, and the remaining, the Permian is the later than the Cambrian, so that is very later than the Cambrian, and it last period of the Paleozoic era. And the Jurassic is even later, belonging to the Mesozoic era. Then Quaternary is the most recent geological period, part of the Cenozoic era. So here the Cambrian is the correct answer for this question. Option A, Cambrian. Next question. The experiment that simulated the condition thought to be present on the early Earth, Hershey-Chase experiment, Geiger-Marsden experiment, Mille-Urey experiment, Schley-Hallian experiment. So here Hershey-Chase experiment, that is related to the genetic material, so that is not related to the evolution, and this is also not related to the evolution. So here option C, Miller-Urey experiment. So in this experiment, so they created the same condition, so in lab. So here they utilized the electrodes to generate the high temperature, and they used the condenser like this. It looks like this almost, right? The Urey Miller experiment, and they observe They created some 800 degrees Celsius, and there is a vacuum pump 800 degrees Celsius, and they observed the formation of some sugar and some organic molecules. So they created the similar condition in the laboratory scale. So that is the Miller-Urey experiment, option C. Next question. Example of a homologous organ. Option A, the arm of human, wing of bird. Wing of an insect, wing of a bird. Leg of a dog and leg of the spider. None of the above. So here the meaning of homologous organ, so that you should know. So where the anatomy is same or the structure is same, but they have the different function. They have different function. Okay. So the arm of human and the wing of the bird. Wing of insect and wing of bird. So they show the similar function. They show the similar function, and that is the analogous. Leg of dog and leg of spider. So they are analogous. So the correct answer, the arm of human beings, the arm of human beings and the wing of the bird. So here wing of the bird, that is not a which is not having the similar anatomy to the arm of the human being. So here you can use the wings of the bat, means that will be correct. Okay, if you use the wings of the bat, means that is having the same anatomy to the human arm. So here the correct answer is option A, but wing of the bird, that should be wing of the bat. If you change it like this, then it will be the correct answer, option A. Then observation of species on dash heavily inspired Darwin's theory of evolution. So here Ilhada, Quaimada Grande, Guatemala, Faroes Islands, Galapagos Islands. So this is the islands name. So different islands name. Here you have to find out. So the Darwin, so he inspired by the theory of natural selection or theory of evolution. So that how he inspired, where he worked. So mainly that is the Galapagos Island. He worked on the, he observed the different species on the Galapagos Island, and he inspired, so that inspired the Darwin's theory of evolution. So he worked on Galapagos Island. So the island name is Galapagos Island, and he uh, explained the adaptive radiation and all. So that is based on the observation done on this island, that is the Galapagos Island. Option D is the correct answer. Next question. The biggest dinosaur found on Earth was Tyrannosaurus rex, Ichthyosaurus, Thigodont, Pelycosaurus. So here, which option is the correct one? The biggest dinosaur found on Earth. Please read the question properly and try to answer for this question. Okay. Is it Tyrannosaurus rex or option A? Tyrannosaurus Rex, that is around 20 feet height, right? So 20 feet height, so that is the Tyrannosaurus Rex. Option A is the correct one. Yes, next move to the 12th question. On the origin of species was written by the book Origin of Species was written by Charles Darwin, Ludmila Kuprionova, Mikhail Feridunkin, none of the above. So here the option A, Charles Darwin, the Origin of Species, that is written by the Charles Darwin. So here this scientist, so the name that is not mentioned in the evolution chapter. Okay, so the correct one is the Charles Darwin. Please note down the answer. Yes, let's move to the 13th question. Alfred Wallace, a naturalist who worked on Galapagos Island, Malay Archipelago, and Andaman. So here, Galapagos Island. So who worked on this island? Charles Darwin, right? Charles Darwin, who worked on this island. But Andaman, that is not related to this one. So the correct one is the archipelago. So here he concluded, the scientist Charles Darwin, who concluded that the theory of the natural selection and the survival of the fittest by observing the different kinds of the organisms and their ancestors in the different in his OH, right? Natural selection he proposed. So at the same time period, Alfred Wallace, who worked on Malay archipelago, who came to the same conclusion. So that is theory of natural selection and survival of the fittest. Survival of the fittest, that is given by the Darwin, and the scientist Alfred Wallace also came to the same conclusion, that is the natural selection theory. Okay, so here the correct option, that is option B, Malay Archipelago. The first human-like being, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo sapiens, Neanderthal man. So this series that explains the different types of man that is in the human evolution. Homo sapiens, that is the Homo sapiens, that is the modern man name, right? Neanderthal man, so he is not first human like being. So he already is developed, so he is more similar to the Homo sapiens. So Homo habilis or Homo erectus. So this same definition is given in your NCERT book, the first human like being. So the first human like being means before that the primates, they are more similar to the chimpanzees and gorillas, right? So they are not more similar to the human beings. So the option B, Homo erectus, was the first human like being. So Homo erectus, then Homo habilis 1.5 million years ago, then Neanderthal man, then Homo sapiens. That is the order of the human evolution, right? So the correct answer is option B, Homo erectus. Homo erectus is the correct answer. Next question. Hugo de Vries worked on Pisum, Lathyrus, Evening Primrose Mirabilis. So here, Hugo de Vries, who proposed the theory of mutation and mutation and saltation. Saltation. According to the Hugo de Vries, the speciation, that is the creation of the new species, that is due to the mutation, that is sudden change in the genetic level of the organism, that is called as the mutation. So this mutation that leads to the formation of the new species. He worked on which organism, which plant? So not Pisum. Pisum is mainly selected by the Mendel and not Mirabilis stelapa. The correct one is the evening primrose. Option C, that is the evening primrose is the correct one. Option C. Next question. Brain capacity of Homo habilis was. So already we discussed this type of the question. Brain capacity of the Homo habilis here 1400 cc, that is the brain capacity of the Neanderthal man. So you have to choose. So there is no brain capacity is given in between this order 750 to 850 cc, that is not given in your NCRT. So you have to choose 900 cc or 650 to 800 cc. The brain capacity of the Homo habilis. Homo habilis, that is option C, 650 to 800 cc. The correct option is 650 to 800 cc. Homo erectus, so that is they are having the brain capacity that is 900 cc. So only these three are mentioned, 650 to 800, that is Homo habilis and Homo erectus, and 1400 cc, that is Neanderthal man. So here for this question, option C is the correct answer. Let's note down these points. Next question. Australian marsupials are example for adaptive radiation, convergent evolution, industrial melanism, divergent evolution. So here, industrial melanism. Industrial melanism means, so in the year 1850, due to the industrialization, the species of the two types of the moths number, that is reversed after some years due to the industrialization. Before the industrialization, white winged moths are more due to the white background due to the presence of the lichens where there is a less pollution. Then after the industrialization, due to the pollution, lichens are removed. So when the lichens are removed, these white winged moths were clearly identified by the enemies and they are captured under the contrasting background. So These organisms are easily captured by the enemies, so the number is reverse. Then the white-winged moths were less after the industrialization. Black-winged melanized winged moths were more due to the black color background. These are more. Okay, so that is the industrial melanism. So it is not related. Australian marsupials, they are not related to the industrial melanism. So here convergent evolution means, so that is mainly which are having the analogous organs. Analogous organs are example for the convergent evolution, and divergent, that is the homologous organs in the different organisms, that is example for the divergent evolution. So the correct option is adaptive radiation. The Australian marsupials and Darwin finches are the very good example for the adaptive radiation. Option A is the correct answer. Then what is this adaptive radiation? So the adaptive radiation means, so just imagine in a particular area, so some species, some marsupial species were present. Okay. So when they move to the different geographical area, so these are the ancestors. Okay. When they move to the different geographical area, so they adapted their body to the that environmental condition. So the one which moved to the cold condition, it adapted its body condition for that cold, and based on the food habitat, temperature and everything, they adjusted and they changed their body form, and they formed the new species. So but the ancestors are this Australian marsupials. Okay, so that is called as the adaptive radiation, like this. So this is called as the adaptive radiation. Option A is the correct answer. And the one more example for Darwin adaptive radiation, that is the Darwin finches. Okay. Next question. A type of natural selection in which more individuals acquire mean character value is called stabilizing selection, directional selection, disruptive selection, dominant selection. So there are three types of the natural selection that is explained: stabilizing selection, directional selection, disruptive selection. Three types. So in that, when the more individuals acquire the mean character value, so the curve will be like this. Mean character value, so it looks like this. So that is called as a directional selection. Stabilizing selection means, so just the curve will be look like this, right? So the two characters are that is selected by the nature, so that is the stabilizing. Disruptive means, so which forms the two peaks like this. So these are the characters that is selected by the nature, so that is the disruptive selection. So here the type of natural selection in which more individual acquire the mean character value, more are acquiring the same character, mean character, so that is the directional selection. Option B is the correct answer. Next question. The first human-like creature was named as. So already we discussed this question. Option B, Homo habilis. The first human-like creature was named as Homo habilis, Australopithecines, Neanderthal man, Homo erectus. So these are the names that we study in the human evolution, right? So for this question, Homo habilis, that already we discussed this question. Option B is the correct answer. Next question. Darwin's pinches are good example of industrial melanism, connecting link, adaptive radiation, convergent evolution. So industrial melanism, I already explained. So that is the melanized winged moths and the white winged moths, how their number that is changed after the before and after the industrialization. So that is not the Darwin finches are not the connecting link. So here the convergent evolution, that is because of the analogous, what you call, that is due to the analogous organs, convergent evolution, because they perform the same function but their anatomy is different. Here the correct option is adaptive radiation, that we know. So Darwin finches, so in the particular island, Galapagos Island, so the original pinch that is responsible for the seed eating. Okay, but when it moved to the different geographical area of that island, so that developed the insectivorous pinches, insectivorous and insectivorous pinches, then vegetarian pinches, vegetarian, then nectar sucking, nectar sucking finches, to like this from this original bird, so that when it moved to the different places of that island, it is able to adjust with that environment and develop the different finches. So that is called as the famously known as Darwin finches. Option C is the correct answer. Next question. Embryological support for evolution was also proposed by Ernest Haeckel, Oparin and Haldane, Stanley Miller, Darwin. So here, Darwin, who proposed the theory of natural selection. Yes, option C, you're telling embryological support that is proposed by the Stanley Miller. No, Darwin, who proposed the theory of natural selection, and Stanley Miller. Stanley Miller, so that is related to the experimental proof for the experimental proof for the chemical origin of life. Oparin and Haldane, they provide the theory of the chemical evolution. The correct answer is Ernest Haeckel. Option A, Ernest Haeckel is the correct answer. So he proposed the embryological support for the evolution, means according to the scientist, so all the vertebrate embryos, they pass through the same stages during the embryonic development, means fish embryo and amphibian embryo and some reptiles and some mammal embryos, so they pass through the same development during the embryonic stage. So in fishes, gill slits are present, that is that develop in the embryo stage, and in all organisms you can see the development of the gill slits, but it is functional only in the fish. Gill slits are functional only in the fish, but in remaining it will not develop. So according to him, so all the higher complex organisms they developed from the basic one. For example, fish, from the fish the remaining organisms they developed. So that is the embryological support for the support for evolution. Option A is the correct one. Ernest Haeckel. Next question. Analogous organs arise due to the divergent evolution, artificial selection, genetic drift, convergent evolution. So the divergent evolution means when their anatomy is same is option D. Okay. Anatomy is the same, but the function is different, means they that shows the divergency from that species, the creation of the new species, that is the divergent. Artificial selection, that is not related to this. Genetic drift, that is the sudden change in the gene pool due to the by chance, that is called as the genetic drift. So the correct answer, the analogous organs arise due to the convergent evolution. Yes. So convergent evolution. Yes, some participants answered for this question in the chat box. Yes, option D they mentioned. Yes, that is the correct one. Convergent evolution. Next question. The chronological order of human evolution from early to the recent. From early human to the recent, the human evolution that you have to write. So here at last Homo erectus, Homo erectus, Homo erectus, Homo erectus is there. From early to the recent. So here Ramapithecus, Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus. So there is no option like Homo sapiens, right? Actually, I hope you are searching for the Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens is at the last, means you can choose that option. But here that there is no option that is related to that is the Homo sapiens, right? So you have to choose the remaining in that option only, in the given option only. So there is no Homo sapien is given. Okay, then Australopithecus, so Ramapithecus. So here Australopithecus, they are not the earlier one. Ramapithecus. Okay, so the earlier one, you know that Dryopithecus, right? Dryopithecus option also not there. So after Dryopithecus, Ramapithecus. Ramapithecus is there in option B and C. Just to remove the option A and option D from the answer. Option A and option D. Then Ramapithecus, after that Australopithecus. Yes, that is the correct one. Ramapithecus, Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus. So after the Ramapithecus, Homo habilis is not there. So this one is the wrong answer. So you can say option B, Ramapithecus, Australopithecus, Homo habilis, Homo erectus, then Neanderthal man, then Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens. So that is the order. Okay, option B, yes, you're right. Option B is the correct answer. Ramapithecus, Australopithecus, Homo habilis, and the Homo erectus. That is the correct answer. Yes, let's move to the next question. 24th question. The occurrence of more than one adaptive radiation in an isolated geographical area results in the genetic drift, divergent evolution, convergent evolution, saltation. So here Australian marsupials and the placental mammals are given. So in the same continent, Australia, you can observe the scientists observe the more than one adaptive radiation. Means, so in that region, in that the same continent, you can observe the adaptive radiation of the placental mammals also, and marsupials also, Australian marsupials radiation, adaptive radiation also they observed. So this leads to the, so when the organism from these both move to the same island, so they'll develop this some, for example, Tasmanian wolf and the marsupial wolf. Okay, so they both look similar. So that is because of the adaptive radiation of the both of these organisms. So that leads to the, what type of the evolution? That leads to the convergent evolution. Option C is the correct answer. That is the convergent evolution. Option C. Not the divergent one, genetic drift and the saltation. Option C is the correct answer. Next. When did dinosaurs die off? 1.5 million, 105.1 million years ago, 65.5 million years ago, 75.5 million years ago, none of the above. You know that the dinosaurs, they die off, they extinct from the earth how many years ago? Right, so that is around 65.5 million years ago, the dinosaurs were extinct from the earth. Here the correct option is option B. This option B is the correct answer. Please note down this one. Yes. So this is the 25th question. The answer is option B. Yes, dear students. Yes, I'm going to end the class now. So from Thursday, we discussed the synopsis. Then yesterday we discussed around 30 questions, and today around 25 questions we discussed in this session. So I hope this class that is very useful for you people for the preparation of some competitive exam. Yes, dear students, if you have any doubts, feel free to ask. Okay. Yes, I'll give 1 minute time. If you have any doubt, just to write in the chat box. I'll try to answer. So from the next session, we are going to start the next chapter. Yes, I'll give 1 minute time for that. Okay. Thank you, dear students. We'll meet in the next session.